Hello everybody and welcome back to LMM. And if you're enjoying the kind of stuff that you're seeing on the channel at the moment, how about giving this video a like and maybe subscribing to the channel to help us grow. Today we're here at the Alan Keef Open Day, celebrating 50 years of Alan Keef, which has some wonderful things like the new build number 10 sat here in steam like its first public steamings, Woto over there, there's Peter Pan there, and Taffy, this wonderful little vertical boiler thing. So multiple engines running on the 2 foot, this thing shuttling up and down to join us for a day looking around and seeing what's going on and having a quick look inside the workshop where they're still making locomotives to this day.
The famous locomotive builder Alan Keef open up their yard and works every few years for the public to come and have a look, and with the sad news that this year's was cancelled due to the rain, I looked back to 2022 where I and all of these other people came along for the event. Visiting was Kerr Stewart Peter Pan alongside the home fleet of Bagnall Woto and home-built Taffy. Now, for those of you who've seen my abandoned engine on the side of a mountain, this is where the cylinder block and lots of other parts actually ended up, on a working engine. We were here to celebrate 50 years of Alan Keef. And to this end, there was a huge display set up full of photographs of locomotives that had been built by the company, as well as a timeline talking about their highlights, particular jobs and things that had been involved in, including the acquisition of Simplex and various big contracts that had been awarded to them, as well as particularly interesting or high profile locomotives that had been built, including a couple which I have filmed with ready to release on the channel. What was particularly interesting was the section talking about the future. I tend to look at the age of the rail to have gone, whereas Alan Keef are still building new locomotives for industrial use, as well as those going to pleasure parks and other private railways. So it was really exciting to see that this is still a relevant company, still making industrial locomotives. Outside, things were starting to happen as the engines had to shunt around to be ready for the first train. And with Peter Pan clearing the points, the home-based motor rail could shunt itself out of the way. And then Peter Pan could propel itself to clear the running line and end up on top of the Simplex. "2022 was the year of Peter Pan's centenary, and as a result it had been all over. And with that out of the way, it was time for Taffy to come out to start hauling the first passenger trains of the day.
Bit slow to come round.
It's just a stop of those all.
'The railway in Alan Keef's yard is not the longest in the world, but has plenty of points and serves the workshop, which means there's a load of operational interest. You'll notice that there is a 2-foot 3-gauge railway next door, on which sits chorus number 10, and you may notice that there hasn't been much footage of that so far, and that's because it has its own dedicated video, so go check that out over there. The railway serves as a testing and shakedown track for new and rebuilt locomotives so they can be thoroughly tested before they go out to their owners. It travels down away from the workshop and then curves back around, coming back to the other side to where the shed is for the working engines. It really serves as a testing and perfect garden railway for when the owner just fancies steaming up or firing up one of his locomotives and taking them for a trundle up and down the railway. And in fact, it is that perfect size that we can all maybe aspire to have a short bit of 2-foot gauge that the engine can just trundle up and down on. It is also obviously a very sharp corner, but the view from the elevated track is actually rather pretty, and I was exceedingly jealous of this little railway. Back inside the workshop, it wasn't just photographs for everybody to see, with a number of ongoing projects on display, including this steam outline locomotive from Cotswold Wildlife Park that had come back to have the transmission and engine upgraded. The whole railway had been designed and built by Alan Keef. And it's not just internal combustion that they work with, having just finished the overhaul of this stunning 10.25-inch gauge B-class for a private railway down in Devon, where they'd also built the new rolling stock, some of which you can see behind the engine. And having stared longingly at the engines for a while, it was time to head back outside, where Taffy was doing its last passenger run. With its morning turn over, Taffy had shunt released with Woto, propelled the train back, uncoupled, and now ran into the siding, ready to take water before its next duty. Meanwhile, I had a little look around and stumbled across these BEV locomotives which are undergoing work for my friends over at the Talaclin Railway, so that's something to keep an eye on. With Taffy out of the way, Woto could set back onto the train, ready to begin its turns of operating the passenger service. And when I was asked if I fancied coming for a footbrick ride, I thought, well, it'd be rude not to.
Thank you.
Okay, front's on the mark.
Having got off the footplate, I went to have a mosey round the workshop, where I discovered the frames for the Isle of Man Railway number 10, which is having an extensive frame rebuild here at Allen Keith. It also gave me the opportunity to have a good look round at some of the machines that are in almost daily use in the fabrication, restoration and maintenance of locomotives and rolling stock. And embarrassingly, I don't have a clue how to use most of these things. But I can tell you that they're all very big and very impressive and probably do some cool stuff. And it is all extremely big and heavy duty stuff. I mean, the sheer size of this, I think it's a milling machine, just the sheer size of that is massive. The workshop itself is pretty huge, with more through that door, with more machines, but particularly that's where the parts are held in storage for future and ongoing projects. Returning to the outside, Woto was on its last passenger run. Woto would then set back its train to be replaced by the visitor, Peter Pan. The event had been exceedingly popular, and it's this very field that was waterlogged that stopped this year's event from going ahead. And all too soon, it was the end of the day, and Taffy made one last spirited run up and down the line.
So guys, that brings us to the end of the day here at Allen Keith's Open Day. And I've never been here before. It's been an amazing open day. It's been insanely busy. And I hope you've enjoyed seeing things running around. It's been action-packed with chorus number 10 going up and down. There's been Taffy, Peter Pan and Woto taking it in turns. The queue for the train has been almost as long as the queue for the food. And as you can see by me, I quite like food. And the queue was so long that it turned me away. It's been a brilliant, absolutely fantastic day. The staff here have been so friendly. Everyone's been so enthusiastic about what they're working on, stuff in here, other projects. I've met a load of you guys, I've met a load of new friends. This goes down as being just an absolutely super day. So I hope you've enjoyed this day. I hope you've enjoyed seeing a bit around it. And with that, thank you very much for watching. If you want more information on Allen Keith, the link to their website is in the video description, so you can inquire about your own locomotive, railway, whatever you need, carriages, building, refurbing, sorting out facility stuff. And of course, if you have enjoyed this, coming up, a couple of suggestions for you to watch later. And with that, I'm going to go and wash up because I've been on number 10. Ta-ra.